What's up, everybody? My name is the Tony Hope, and you're listening to the Hear Me Roar podcast, a sports show where I run my mouth about all things sports. And today, I am back with my co-host Noble Lewis, and we are here presenting y'all another iteration of the Hear Me Roar podcast. And if you are not familiar with my voice, you better get used to it because I am the future of sports media. We are back after a hiatus. The summertime. I'm out of school. Um, and I pretty much have no excuse for not doing it. I mean, I can name off excuses: work, getting a new job, um, focusing on training, and working really is the main thing. But nonetheless, if I want to make it in this industry, I got to get past those excuses. So we are back. I will be expanding the domain of Hear Me Roar as well. Be making YouTube videos. Got one coming soon about the Atlanta Hawks and how we landed the number one pick and what the hell we should do with it. Be on the lookout for that. And of course, the weekly podcasts will continue as usual. A lot we kind of missed. We haven't been able to talk about like the entire NBA playoffs. But hey, the Mavericks and the Celtics are in the finals. Mavericks managed to push it to a game 5 back in Boston. The game went off an hour or so ago. And here we are. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking about the NBA finals as well as some UFC stuff. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So Boston Celtics, America's most hated team, versus the Dallas Mavericks, a team that has survived the gauntlet of the West, beating the likes of young superstars and old. And then there's the Celtics, who have walked their way right into the NBA Finals and are up 3-1 against the Dallas Mavericks and are one win away from their 17th NBA championship. Nobody likes the Celtics unless you are from Boston. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to say what I really want. Unless you are from Boston and you are of a certain demographic. Nobody likes Boston. I don't want to see them win. I know you don't want to see them win. Yet, here we are with the Celtics up 3-1. And I honestly am not surprised. And I can't do much but respect it because the Celtics have been playing like this all year and they are continuing in the finals despite them getting their ass whooped tonight. The score wasn't close. Not at one point in the game was it a competitive fray. The Dallas Mavericks beat them 122-84. I turned that shit off after the halftime. There was nothing else for me to watch at all.
It was very. I'm not gonna say a painful watch, but because I enjoyed not seeing the Mavs lose. But it was just they were never in it. They were never in it from the tip or from the jump. The first quarter, they were getting out rebounded on what felt like every possession, and Mavs jumped out to a 12-point lead very early, like around halfway through the first quarter, and then from there it just kept building and kept building. And there was a point in the second quarter where I started my food. You know, me and some friends went to Hooters. I started my food. They had 25 points. By the time I finished my food, they had 28. Like they could not buy a bucket for most of that second quarter, and Dallas was running it up. Meanwhile, they were just getting totally outclassed on the boards. They had 50. Mavs had 50 rebounds to the Celtics 31. So it was just total outclassing, and obviously the scoreboard reflects that.
It did, and the Celtics, you're right. They couldn't buy a basket, but even just from the jump, Charles Barkley said it after the game on NBA TV. The Celtics low-key thought that the Mavericks were just going to come in here and quit.
Fold.
Like I can't remember who said it specifically, but if you ask any NBA player, if you ask any baseball player, I'm sure, if you ask any hockey player, any professional that has to win a best of series, they're always going to tell you that the closeout game is the hardest. That's where Shaq said it. That's who I'm thinking of. Shaq said it. The hardest game is the closeout. You have, because whether you're up 3-0 like the Celtics were, whether you're up 3-1, whether you are up 3-2, whatever the case may be, the closeout game is the hardest game to win. In the case of the Celtics, they were on the road. They played well in game 3 in Dallas. Now you're game 4. Hey, look, the Mavericks don't got nothing to lose. at
Absolutely.
this point, because you're down 3-0. No team has ever came back. They're playing with house money at this point, and it showed. They came out, they played their heart out. Luka played amazing on both ends of the floor. I'm kind of tired of hearing the Luka doesn't play defense narrative. It's kind of getting tired. That's not my qualm with him, because he does play defense. He has no choice to, because they attack him on every drive. He has no choice but to play defense. He played a great defense against Jason Tatum, and on times being switched onto Jaylen Brown. We know that he's dealing with injuries that has not stopped him from being the star that he is. Kyrie showed up as well. And then, of course, what has been a problem for the entirety of the series for the Mavericks has been the others.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
need
PJ Washington.
supporting cast to show the hell up, because if you don't and you just try to make it a 2 versus 13, as if how a 2 versus 11 how the Celtics play, you're gonna get cooked. Look,
For sure.
look at the Heat versus Celtics last year. You need players like Caleb Martin to show up and ball, right? For the Mavericks, their Caleb Martin is PJ Washington. He has yet to have an impact on this series. Even tonight in a blowout win, he only had 6 points, right? This is not the PJ Washington we saw lighted up against the Timberwolves. It isn't.
Yeah.
This is not the PJ Washington we saw against the Clippers. We need, if the Mavericks want to try to make history, the others, including Derrick Jones Jr., especially PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, they need to show up.
Yeah, Derek Lively had a really good showing today,
Yeah.
especially on the boards. He had 12 rebounds, and you felt all 12. I felt all 12 of those rebounds. You could he was really hustling for them, and I think that was a big difference in it. Dante Exum in the second quarter came in and just lit him up. Had hit two threes and some change in the second quarter. He was a good spark off the bench, 10 points, and so they find, like you said, the others. They've been waiting on the others to show up. Last game, Luka it was an inefficient night for him, but he still put up 20 plus or 27-ish points. Kyrie went off last game, had a vintage game, 35. It was just a matter of they weren't getting help from, like you said, PJ Washington, Gafford, Derrick Jones Jr. These guys got to get involved, and they have to be able to turn it on if the Mavericks want to make history.
Yes, they do. They are. This was a good showing by them, though. It was. One part of me is glad we're getting a game 5, and then another is I guess, meh about it. I don't care. This is the first finals ever where I'm looking at this and I'm like, it feels like regular season basketball. I'm not gonna lie. When the Nuggets played the Timberwolves in the playoffs, I was watching every one of those games in anxiety, oh my goodness, I really wanted Ant to win, which he did. I was invested. It felt like playoff basketball. Even when the Mavericks played the Clippers at certain times, I know Kawhi was hurt during those series, but even when that happened, even Mavericks versus Timberwolves still felt like that.
Mavericks versus Thunder, both of those series felt
Knicks versus Pacers, Knicks versus the oh my goodness, I'm forgetting who they played in the second round. Or not the second round, the first round. The Sixers. Knicks versus Sixers. Those were playoff matchups. I felt those. The finals right now is just it doesn't feel like the NBA finals. It doesn't. And it has much to do, to me, it has much to do with the visual experience.
Absolutely.
What I'm looking at, the court, the commentary, the presentation period. There's just a lot is missing that is not. I mean, the matchup, straight up. I went into the NBA Finals, and I'm looking at the Celtics and how they dominated team after team all year. They dominated throughout the playoffs, and I'm looking at them going against the Mavericks, who is their best player is dealing with injuries. Their roster isn't as greatly constructed as the Celtics are. And I'm already looking at it dude, this will be the upsets of upsets. I went in there with doubt in my mind that the Mavericks will even make it very competitive. And so far, it became true. Like I said, I'm kind of happy that the Mavericks pushed it to a game 5. We'll see how that plays out. They play in 2 days or like a day and a half and some change. I think Sunday. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not
Well, the thing,
tracking with the NBA Finals this year.
no, it's absolutely. And I'll even go as further to blame it almost 100% on presentation. There's almost nothing about the broadcast or the court or anything that feels like a finals game. The scoreboard is just regular, except the clock is gold. Other than that, the scoreboard is regular. There's no decals on the court. The in-season tournament had better detailing than the finals have. So I agree 100%. I think it's just mainly the presentation just doesn't feel like it's living up to what a grand event it is. You know, the Super Bowl, the presentation for the Super Bowl is always out of this world. There is no doubt in your mind when you're watching the Super Bowl that you're watching the Super Bowl.
Right.
But right now, this just, it, like you said, it feels like a regular season game. The NBA is just kind of going through the motions. They didn't bring back the gold logos on the scoreboard, no finals trophy on that. It just, there's no presentation whatsoever that makes it feel like it's a finals game. I think in terms of play, it's gotten it's, you know, what they said about the Lakers versus Nuggets last year, the most competitive sweep ever. I think, you know, there was a couple times this series where Dallas could really be up, or it could be 2-2 right now. It could very easily be 2-2, or it could even be 3-1 them. Like, it's just, there was a couple plays here and there, especially late in game 2 and late in game 3 where they failed to close. The game got within, you know, in game 2, the game got within 5 within the last minute. And all it took was that if they would have gotten that foul call, assuming they hit the free throws, it would have been a 3-point game with a minute left. So they certainly had some opportunities to try and, you know, get back and flip this series early on, but they weren't able to close. And that's really been the biggest difference other than like game 1. Even in game 1, there was a point when they were making that huge comeback that they got down to 8 points. They dropped it from a 30-point lead to an 8-point lead. And from there, they just flattened out. So I think, you know, things like that give me hope about this Mavericks team being able to complete the comeback, because I don't think that they've just completely been outclassed. And I don't think that there is zero way for them to come back. I don't think that they just don't have the roster to, you know, do it. I mean, of course, they would be making history. Yeah. And it's never been done before. But I just don't think that they're lost. I don't think that this is a team that has any reason to throw in the towel, has any reason to give up. Their back is against the wall. And I think if any team can do this, they are capable of doing this, because there's a couple games where, like I said, it just comes down to a few plays and this series could be totally different.
Well, you need to go ahead and tell the Celtics that, because tonight they completely forgot that, you know, this is you still need to win one more game. Still need to. And absolutely, I don't know why they got rid of Mike Breen, Van Gundy, and Mark Jackson for Doris Burke and JJ Redick. Bro, that takes a broadcast team takes years of calling games together to really mesh together and play off of each other well. This is their first finals broadcast, and it sounds like it. I just don't. I miss Mark Jackson's one-liners. I miss Van Green, so
play-by-play
petty with what he says and being smart, his comments and his remarks. And then, of course, Mike Breen, he's still the holding it down. He's able to blend it both together, keep it focused on what's happening on the court in live action, and of course, his signature calls. I miss that. I miss it. And I think that, you know, with speculation with JJ becoming the next head coach for the Lakers and other news, it might be changed up again. Like, I don't know what ESPN was thinking. Dumb decision. Yet I digress. I think, like you said, the Super Bowl always is going to feel like the Super Bowl. Even when it's a blowout game, even when it's a team that you didn't want to make it or a team you didn't expect to make it, the Super Bowl always feels like the Super Bowl. Cannot say that about the NBA Finals. I enjoyed them last year, enjoyed it the year before. This year is the first year where it's like, it just really is meh. And I think the NBA and the UFC both need to take a page out of the NFL and WWE as far as presenting their marquee spectacle events. Like this is the grandest. Like make it feel like it. You know what I'm saying? Like make
Yeah.
some, you know what I'm saying, drop a little extra money in it and and bring some expert current players onto the panel as well. Uh I know they did that with Joel Embiid and Paul George tonight. And Joel Embiid flew his ass all the way down to Dallas just to hate on the Celtics, which is hilarious. Talking about how the whole East was injured. That's how the Celtics essentially got to the finals. That's funny and petty. I expect nothing less from Joel. But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it. And like you said, it has been a competitive series and at times. Um, but that just goes to show how well built of a team that the Celtics are this year. Mind you, they never said, man, we just gonna blow this whole thing up and start over. You know, they didn't panic when Jason Tatum and the Celtics didn't beat the Cavs in 2018. They didn't panic when they didn't make the finals in 2020. They didn't panic when they didn't win the finals in
22.
2022. They didn't panic when they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Here we are. They retooled, brought in Kristaps Porzingis, which is easily the move of the year.
You think that's bigger than Drew for them?
In this finals, Drew has been playing better, mind you, because Chris has been hurt.
Yeah.
But I think for the totality of the season, when Porzingis is healthy and he's on the court playing, that team is unstoppable. That's how I felt about the same way I feel about the Celtics when Porzingis is on the court is how I felt with the Warriors when Katie, Curry, Clay, Dre were all on the court at the same time.
Yeah,
Iggy were
that's
all
what
on the
I
court. That
absolutely.
that was easily how I felt. Drew Holiday, of course. Derek White is like the greatest bitch player. He just absolutely does everything. Like I just see a lot of parallels between the two. But yeah, this team is just so well constructed, and I hate that the NBA let them do that. These
Yeah, the
teams are all
Trailblazers are
playing.
going. Yeah, Trailblazers. Whoever their GM is going to hell for trading them to the Celtics for pennies.
Pennies.
That was just, that's kind of one of those moves where you look at it and you're like, why you gotta you think about, because it's not even like it was a trade that was notable for the Blazers. The Blazers didn't get nothing serious back for that. So you look at that and it's like, why would you give them that? You just got him in the trade for Dame, and then you're gonna trade him to a Boston team who's already looks very good. I mean, the Trailblazers don't have much to look forward to, so I guess I understand why they don't care much. But still, it's like, well, they don't. I guess they didn't expect. They don't expect to contend anytime soon. So why not? I guess because the Celtics do have some, impending contract stuff that's gonna come soon. Derek White has to get paid after this next year. Jason Tatum has to get paid after this next year. That contract is going to be massive. So they've got some, I don't know how long the Celtics are going to be able to keep this together, but they have a insane roster for this season, and what's next season. They have an insane roster.
They do. It's I don't know. It's like I don't like giving them credit, but it is what it is, bro. Like I think I can't remember what I saw, but like their starting lineup, like none of them were their own draft picks. Like Jason Tatum was acquired
the
from
Nets,
Philly.
Tatum and
Drew Holiday's from the Sixers. Who else? Porzingis is from the Knicks. Like none of these guys. Derek White was from the Spurs. None of these guys came from their own draft selections. So that just goes to show, like, good trades that ended up paying off in the future. It's finna end up in the parade. I truly think that this is gonna be over in a few days. It's about to end up in a parade, and I hate to see it. I really do, because I don't like the Celtics. Don't like their fans. And
I'm gonna be hoping for the Mavs to win this, man. Because now at this point, if the Mavs do come back, not only do the Celtics not win, but they have the worst comeback they blew the worst comeback in NBA history. Right now, the Warriors still have it, but not only will they be taking the throne from us for the worst comeback in NBA history, but they're also blowing a 3-0 lead in the finals. That would be very sweet. That's like the Cowboys. When we saw the Cowboys implode against the Packers, that would be like that times 3.
Yep. That'll take a lot of heat off the backs of the Warriors and a lot of heat off the backs of the Mavericks for 07 against the Warriors. So both of them will be very happy if the Mavericks can get it done. This NBA season has been very interesting. NBA playoffs have been very interesting. I really wish we got the Timberwolves in there. But they got a lot of questions too. I ain't gonna lie, going into next year, because this whole cat thing, and he makes me so upset with the way he plays, and it's just so aggravating. Like it's genuinely irritating to watch him play sometimes. Genuinely irritating.
Because you know what it should be. Like, you know how good they would be if he plays like what you expect him to play. And when he doesn't live up to expectations, it just feels like a shotgun chest so much more than other players, because you know how good they can be when he's playing up to expectations.
Yep. I said that Cat should have been Boogie if he never got hurt. Easily. And actually a better version of Boogie, because Cat's 3-point shot has always been there. Yeah, that's one thing I'm not going to like discount against him. He is probably the best 3-point shooting big man in NBA history. Could throw maybe Dirk in there.
Well, however you want to count KD, you could
you could throw the folks in there, but as far as big men shooting the ball, I'm gonna give Cat his respect on that one. Yet it seems like he takes that shit to heart, and that's all he wants to do. It's all he wants to do. A lot of stuff has, this has been an interesting playoffs, because the old guard just got their ass kicked early. No Curry. We didn't see no Bron no Curry, period. Bron got his ass up on that in the first round. Kawhi got their ass up on that in the first round. KD got his ass up on that there in the first round. No Giannis. I know he's not part of the old guard, but no Giannis. No Embiid. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we're talking about no Harden, no PG. All of them are out in the first round. All of them. None of them. We got to the to the conference finals. We had Halliburton, Brunson, Siakam.
Not even Brunson.
Luka.
Second round.
And whatchamacallit? Who? I'm sorry. Yeah, Brunson were out in the second round. Ant, Cat, and then the Celtics. Like, that's really interesting to see. Shea, can't forget about Shea. Oh my goodness, disrespecting my Thunder. Sorry, Shea. It's the
whole Thunder team, super young.
Yeah, whole Thunder team. It was a very interesting conference finals, and we got to see that there's growing pains for sure. Get to a certain moment in these playoffs that wear and tear adds up on you. Now y'all see, like, making the finals is not easy. No matter how easy you want to say that, or how light you want to call the East, but there's injuries prone. Like, call it what you want. It's not easy to make the finals. Nonetheless, 8 years in a row, like Bron did. Nonetheless, all the years in a row that the Warriors, 5 years in a row, the Warriors did it. It's not easy at all. Ant saw that it's not easy being the number one. At a certain point, look, that Nuggets series got real close. There's ups and downs for him. It was ups and downs in that in the Mavericks series.
Yeah.
We and it's the same thing for the Thunder, same thing for the Knicks. The Knicks had to deal with injuries, but look, and Brunson had an amazing postseason. He is still my MVP of the entire postseason. The way he was playing.
I wish Julius Randle wasn't hurt, man. I wanted to see what that Knicks team would have looked like.
Me too. really wish. Man, injuries tore them up bad.
Yeah,
Like really bad.
I mean,
Like they were playing like 7 guys at one point. That's all they had available.
I mean, by the time the series ended, Brunson was hurt. He broke his hand. Hart was out. Obviously, Julius was already out.
Mitchell Robinson was dealing with stuff.
Yeah, Mitchell, like they had nobody at the end of the series. You know, Tom Thibodeau. How many times do we have to see this with a Thibs-led team before we can call a spade a spade?
Yeah.
But you know,
I mean, it's funny. It's crazy though because his players still ride for him.
Yeah,
you know, like this players, like they don't complain about it, and they don't think that it's correlated with their injuries. You know, they don't think that his play style is the cause of it. They think that it's unrelated. His player, and it's like, you know, history says otherwise. Yet, if the players are fine with it, Josh Hart like played the entire game for like every one of those games in that series against the Pacers. He did not come out. I think the first time he came out was when he got hurt, and that was like the final game. So he was up just a few days later on the TNT broadcast. So hey, look, or the ESPN broadcast, whichever one it is. All this shit has just been blending into me. But yeah, man, this NBA postseason has been very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. We'll see what the Mavericks can do in a few more days. See if they can make the comeback. Well, let's not even think too far ahead. Win game 5. Win game 5. Now you're down 3-2. We saw the Celtics did it last year against the Heat. We're taking it game by game by game. They were down 3-0, and they won 1, then they won 2, then they won 3, and now narratives changed just like that. Everybody was saying the Celtics were going to be able to be the first to come back from a 3-0 deficit. So let's just take it one game at a time.
Absolutely.
This is some good momentum for the Mavericks, as long as they are not like the Timberwolves and are satisfied with one win. The Timberwolves did that shit in the conference finals against the Mavericks, and it was embarrassing. So embarrassing to see. Don't approach it like we got one win. We didn't get swept. Hooray. Look at it like, all right, now we got some momentum going back to Boston. Let's knock them out, or let's knock them out and head back to Dallas for game 6. Keep this going. One game at a time.
They're beatable. You know they're beatable.
They're beatable. Look, you got one. That's all you need is one. That's all you need is one. Start it.
And you blew them out the water too. Like wasn't it like a close game for you blew them out by 40 points. So if you can do that, then you can win by 30. Then you can win by 20. Then you can win by, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, let the ball keep rolling, taking one game at a time, one play at a time. And, you know, it's very possible for them to come back in this series. They're not, I wouldn't say they're out of it by any means. It's going to be difficult, of course. Nobody's done it. But, you know, I just don't think that this is a team that if they don't roll over, they're not out of it.
Yep. Did you see Taylor Swift on Instagram Live celebrating McCole Hardman contract extension? McCole Hardman.
She's gonna have a bunch of teenage girls thinking McCole Hardman was Randy Moss, man.
But Roger Goodell successfully accomplished his mission of red pilling Taylor Swift to become a football fan. That is insane. To be Taylor Swift on Instagram Live, under McCole's Instagram Live, celebrating his contract extension, who is at best the 4th wide receiver in the depth chart, is saying a lot.
That's crazy.
We will be seeing a lot more Taylor Swift in the NFL. Get used to it, people. If you hate it, you're gonna hate it some more. You got to just come to just appreciate it. You got to. I ain't gonna lie. Because, you know, look, I'm all for Taylor Swift hate. Swifties come at me. But if she's, you know what I'm saying, if she's learning the game, I can sacrifice the hate, which I don't really hate, but I can sacrifice it for people. If she is actually learning the game and appreciating it, I can't hate that. You know what I'm saying?
My problem is the fact that she's been a fan for 1 year and her team won.
Now that's some bullshit.
Like, you know how much pain some of these I haven't witnessed one in my, we've been to some, but I haven't witnessed any in my lifetime. That is my biggest problem. That she can come in and her favorite team, she don't get no pain. She doesn't have to experience no heartbreak. She gets to come in and her favorite team wins the Super Bowl first year. That's
As a matter
my
of fact,
biggest issue.
that she goes to the new version of like how the
He gets the
Patriots were.
best
She comes
quarterback.
into a dynasty. She comes into a season where the Chiefs are historically worse than what they have been in their championship runs. And then each game in the playoffs, they like completely killed their opponents. Like all doubts aside, beat the Dolphins, who were going to finally beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. Beat the hell out the Dolphins. Beat the Bills. Beat the Ravens. Going to the Super Bowl. Like that is so frustrating to see after all the years of torment and pain I've had to witness as a Falcons fan, watching them every year. And she comes along, hops on this bandwagon because of her boyfriend, and gets the riches. It's unfair. I do not like that. Very unfair.
Yeah, that's my biggest qualm about it. I really, and obviously you can joke. I joke a little bit about that, other things, but in terms of that is my biggest qualm is that she gets to win a Super Bowl in her first season as an NFL fan.
Hey, I know who loving the Chiefs though. Hey, look, white America. I told y'all had the Patriots. Look, y'all got the Chiefs now. I ain't gonna lie. Look, Patrick Mahomes, pale ass, and his girlfriend, Travis Kelce, wannabe Negro, and his girlfriend.
He's rebranded now. He's rebranded now that he's a Swiftie.
Oh,
he's
so now
totally
see,
rebranded.
And I got a problem with that too. I got a problem with that because this is a PG-13 podcast. I was finna take your rated R, what I was finna say. I'm gonna keep it respectful. You black women really, for a few years, was riding Travis Kelce's jock because this man got the fade and was dating a black woman. Y'all was on that bandwagon, and then you niggas too was talking about he's invited to cookouts. He's one of us, and all this BS. You fools, y'all disappoint me. Y'all shame me. I'm sick and tired because you see how quickly they jump back and forth. Did you see this man's brother? This man's brother, Jason Kelce, is the epitome of white.
Frat culture white.
Frat boy white. And you thought that this nigga's brother was hopping teams just because he liked him a little chocolate. You fools. I will not forget that. I will never forget that. You idiots. But that's, like I said, I'm going to keep it PG-13 before I start cussing people out. But I'm ready for this NFL season. I'm ready.
Absolutely. This offseason feels so long to me. Like, just the fact that we're only in June, this offseason feels so long to me. Like, we haven't even
got till September, bro.
Camps. Like, that's sickening to me. Like, this has been a very long, maybe it's because we lost the Super Bowl. I don't know. This has been a very long offseason for me. Maybe it's the Brandon Ayuk thing. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that man. Look, hey man, still no contract on the table. This boy's for real finna get all out of there. I thought it was just jokes,
and then
I thought it was like a ploy. But hey, day by day passes.
Even if they sign the contract, the problem is I don't want him to miss training camp, just like Bosa did. Bosa spoke on it. He said he didn't feel like he was himself because he missed training camp holding out for the contract. So the problem is, even if you sign him, if you wait till after, you wait too late to sign him, now he's missed training camp, and now you gotta, now you're dealing with a whole bigger, now you can't get the same production on the floor that you just on a field that you just paid for. So my biggest issue is if you're gonna do it, get it done. Like if eventually you're gonna concede and you're gonna sign the contract, do not wait until after training camp, until after OTAs and all this other stuff so he can be out of shape. Do it now. I'm saying they've already waited till Justin Jefferson got his giant contract. Obviously, he's not going to get Justin Jefferson money, but now you got all these other guys getting their paychecks, so that's only going to raise the paycheck for him. So like that's my biggest issue with it is that if you're going to pay him, pay him. Don't do all these games, and now you got to deal with a whole bunch of extra stuff.
Yeah. How do you feel about, sticking to the topic of the NFL? How do you feel about this whole off-season training camp, mini camps, OTAs, all this stuff? Like, I feel a lot of people overreact to players not wanting to go to a voluntary OTA. And then there's players like Aaron Rodgers missing like mandatory mini camp for an unexcused, mind you, for something that he called an important event.
Yeah.
Like what is this just non-stories here, or is there actual credence to like players like Aaron Rodgers missing minicamp?
For a player, I think it just depends on the player. For a player like Aaron Rodgers, this man's a 15, 16-year vet. If he misses a single day, obviously you don't want to let him set that standard for the team. You got to hold him accountable, and you have to make sure you hold him accountable. But I'm not going. He's been doing this for a long time, right? Like this is not the same as if a second or third year guy thinks he's already one of them just because he had a couple good seasons and he gets to miss it, right? So someone like Aaron Rodgers, like I said, hold him accountable, because you don't want to set that standard for the team, because that's going to lead to some second or third year guy thinking that they can do it. And you got to hold everybody on the team to the same standard, or else, you're not going to be successful. But at the same time, I don't think it should be a gigantic story for them. That's for them as a team to handle. From a media perspective, this is not that big of a story. Whatever he's handling is his business and the team's business. And he missed one day. That's not gonna. I don't think they're gonna be a different. He's gonna be a different player because he missed this one day.
He missed the whole week because apparently he's overseas. But I agree with the fact that unless you are a New York Jets fan, like, you shouldn't really care, honestly. Like, we're talking like, and now if I was a Jets fan, I would be fucking concerned, because this is the same player who he blew up his Achilles after 4 plays of last season. This man hasn't played no type of football in well over like almost a full year now. So if I was in a New York Jets fan club, fan group, fan association, or whatever, there would be slight concern. I'd be like, well, what the hell are you doing overseas when, it's time to start, bro? Like, this is crunch time now. You need to get your ass back on this field, because you haven't done no real work for real since after you missed the entirety of, except for 4 plays. 4. That's not even a full hand's worth. So, like, I would see there's concern for that. But as far as like other players not wanting to show up for voluntary work, if your job calls you up and say, hey, we'd like you to come in. It's just voluntary though, no sweat. If you don't want to, it's fine. Is your ass gonna come in there, bro? Like, let's be real.
And the thing is, there's some I forgot who I saw specifically, but there's somebody I saw that does his own training during that time. So it's not even like these guys are all just ignoring it entirely, or doing nothing, or sitting on their ass. Some of these guys are just training on their own during this time because they're doing something specific to their own regimen. So it's the voluntary stuff, that is really a non-story in my opinion.
Yeah, and I hate that gets airtime on like Colin Cowherd First Take. Like, that's so aggravating. Like, that's just a waste of TV time. Like, it's just a waste of airspace. It's a waste of radio waves, bro. Like, that shit, we could use that space for something else. Like, for real, just a waste. Also, I feel bad for like this generation and future generations that aren't going to be able to turn on the TV and like see actual highlights in Sports Center. All you're gonna see is big-headed
narratives,
just narratives, bro. Just folks just being loud, and it's across all shows, all networks, everywhere. It's just people being loud and wrong and jumping to conclusions and blowing shit out of proportion rather than actual talk. Everything don't gotta be some deep cut and analysis, right?
Like that. Bro.
But it doesn't but it's for damn show doesn't have to be 2 people arguing about the most nonsensical stuff and saying the most outrageous things. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I will change it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So
Yeah,
much.
no, it's just everything's become a narrative thing, and it just doesn't have to be. Like you said, the argumentative style, the hot take style, everything doesn't need to be like I said, the MCU trying to connect this dot to this dot over here and this to this. No, but sometimes things are very face value. What you see is what is happening. It doesn't need to be really much discussion. And then, like you said, just a lack of real analytical stuff, right? Lack of real analysis, lack of highlights in general, like just very the style is just it's turned into a headline based, we're watching headlines on the TV, clickbait, literal TV clickbait.
It is, and it's so irritating. Like it's just, well, we're slowly. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we're going to see the death of this type of TV. ESPN is going to die real soon.
Look what happened to Undisputed. I mean,
oh
just
my goodness! I was praying on their downfall for so long, like since
as soon
grade.
as the entertainment chemistry left, went down the drain. As soon as the Shannon Skip dynamic, the entertainment part of it left. Now that the entertainment's gone and they actually got to talk about, they don't have the character to actually talk about the sports, down the drain. So it's just
we realize that it's just nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. Like literally, this is just the character is what runs these shows. People don't watch these shows for actual takes. They watch the show to complain and to be entertained. That's literally it. That's it. People who actually want to watch something for, knowledge, you will watch NFL Now. You'll watch the multitude of podcasts out there. You'll listen to people like Dan Patrick. You're not going to watch First Take, Undisputed, anything with Nick Wright's name on it, anything with what's the fat one, Jason Whitlock name on it. But we're getting really. But I like Pardon Interruption, but sometimes Michael Wilbon be saying some dumbass shit up on NBA on ESPN. But hey, nobody watched that shit for that. I definitely don't watch that. I don't watch that shit for Kendrick Perkins. Definitely don't watch that shit for Kendrick Perkins.
He's the new Ryan Hollins, man.
Dude.
I remember when he was on there and just bad take after bad take.
Heavy ass breathing. Damn. Messing up my whole. I'm trying to watch some with my headphones in, and I'm like, is there somebody over my shoulder, bro?
I remember it was real bad one time. They're like, "Prick, is that you?" But no,
giving birth on the mic, bro.
Like seriously, it's just a decline in quality, and like you said, you have to go to outside sources for a real analytical breakdown. There's plenty of great content on YouTube and things of that sort. You got us. There's plenty of great content on YouTube and things of that sort where people actually breaking down the sport. You see the X's and O's. You get to learn the game and rather not hear narratives. The finals were going on, and ESPN was talking about Braun unfollowing Kendrick Perkins on Twitter during the NBA finals. Like, what are we talking about, dog? Like, stuff like that is getting ridiculous. I don't know what ESPN is going to do when Braun retires. They're probably still going to be bringing that man's name up because it's ridiculous. Like, why are we talking about Braun unfollowing Kendrick? Why is this a real segment in TV?
Dude, that's one of the most annoying things too. Like, and just on Twitter too. Like, what was it? I saw something today that Klay Thompson unfollowed the Warriors.
Yeah.
Like, bro. Or same thing with Brandon Ayuk. Same thing before when it was with Debo. Like, it's so that causation does not equal correlation. Does not make the same thing, bro. We don't know. Some of these athletes don't even run their own pages, bro. Like really, and like you said, talking about LeBron James, the same man that has posted some of the most ridiculous Instagram posts of any professional athlete.
The mid from Akron,
bro. Like we're really gonna give credence to that. LeBron hasn't played with Kendrick Perkins since 28 or 2016, bro. We who cares if he unfollows him, bro? Who cares? I'm sure they have no contact with each other outside of a glance at each other if a game is on ESPN that LeBron is playing in. Who cares?
He
But
follows
look,
182 people, bro. Like it's not even like this is not like you said. Who cares, bro? Who cares? This does not deserve a TV segment.
really on TV, you're getting aired. Like I said, you're wasting radio space, bro. There's a limited amount of radio waves and broadcast signals out there, and you're wasting it talking about bullshit. So annoying. But look, man, before we wrap up this episode, talk about some UFC. The UFC is in shambles right now. Shambles. Hella people pulling out of fights. Hella fights canceled. Big fights canceled. Robert Whitaker versus Khamzat Chimaev in Saudi Arabia is off. Khamzat has pulled out due to an illness. His history of illnesses derailing his fights is well documented. He almost retired due to COVID years ago. And now his fight with Robert Whitaker is off. UFC 303 on International Fight Week, which is in 2 weeks, headlined by McGregor and Michael Chandler, is off. That fight is canceled for unknown reasons and has been pushed back to sometime in August, September, October, late in the year. We're not getting that fight anytime soon, and I highly doubt we're going to be getting that shit, period. Jamal Hill versus oh my goodness, what was the fight? Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree. That's canceled. Khalil Roundtree popped for PEDs. So Jamal Hill got rematched with Carlos Ulberg. And then that fight got canceled. Jamal Hill couldn't do it. So now Carlos Ulberg will be fighting Anthony Smith, which is great for Anthony Smith for stepping up in this place. But Lord have mercy, we lost what was going to be a violent fight for Anthony Smith versus Carlos Ulberg. They added a fight. So it's the new co-main event. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. That's going to be fun. Very excited to watch that. And the new main event for UFC 303 is Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka, which it will be a rematch of their fight. That was how many fights ago? 2 fights ago for Alex Pereira. And that was Yuri's last fight.
No, he had one at 300. That was 2 fights ago for both of them.
Okay, 2. Oh, yeah, that's right. He did fight Alexander Rakic. Okay. So yeah, 2 fights ago for both of these men will be a rematch. And look, shout out Alex Pereira for stepping up. Shout out to Yuri also for stepping up and ready. It's 2 weeks of notice. Y'all have to fight each other again. I think that is going to go the same way. I think Alex Pereira right now is just at the height of his game in this light heavyweight division. He is just so full, and he's going to be going to this fight healthy. I know he messed his toe up against Jamal Hill. I'm sure that will be at least 85% healed completely, and if not, he doesn't care. You know, he was ready to fight at Brazil if if he was ready to fight literally the next card in Brazil if he could. I think that fight's going to go to similar direction, but seeing Yuri and Alex in another fight with each other is always going to be entertainment and violent and fireworks. So I'm glad that we're getting a worthy replacement for the main event.
Yeah, and like you said, it's going to be very entertaining. That's always, you got 2 pure strikers. It's probably not going to go to the ground at all. 2 pure strikers, and I'm with you. I think Pereira, like in my head, nothing about Yuri, the way he fights, lets me think that this fight's going to go different, right? Like the way he fights is very risky. He takes a lot of damage, and I think he's not going to change his whole fighting style in 2 weeks and gain world-class defense. So Pereira just has the pure power to overcome that. He was able to, because we saw Yuri versus Rakic, he was able to tank a lot of damage. Literally, he was getting knocked around a little bit. He was just able to tank a lot of that damage and had the power to back it up. With Alex, you don't get to make that many mistakes. you can't make a bunch of mistakes with Alex because he has the knockout power. He has the light tower power. So it's just I can't really in my head see it going differently. I hope it's a little. Like I said, I expect it to be very entertaining, but I just don't see it going different.
Same here, and we will be breaking down that fight a little more in depth come next week. But this is kind of like a bounce back episode just to get back on track, man. You know what I'm saying? Took a break from the podcasting. I was talking to Julian Version about it too. He's a journalist. There's a lot of commentating, or not commentating. He's the ring announcer for the NFC. He hosts a podcast as well for the NFC every week on Mondays called NFC Now. Talking to him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, man, that shit can get, just being able to do something consistent. It's tough. I feel for anyone who has their own, who does anything that requires like sit down time, whether it's that's not work related, mind you. Look, we're not getting paid for this yet, so just the ability to kind of stick with it consistently at times it can be tough, whether that's outside reasons, whether that's mental reasons, whatever it may be. Whether you're an artist, a musician, podcaster, clothing designer,
Twitch streamer,
YouTube video, you making YouTube videos, you doing online content, you cooking, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it may be, especially the startup. Even for people who are super like well established in it, we will hear from them, and I'll like my perfect example is like when I was a kid and some of my favorite YouTubers would take a hiatus from posting. I'm like, the hell are you doing? You got millions of subscribers, you're getting millions of views. I know you're making money. Why are you making like a video every 2-3 months? Why are you not doing it? Now I see 100%. Sometimes, bro, like it's just not there. It just isn't there. Like whether you have other stuff to focus on, whether you just don't feel like doing it, whether your heart's not in it, whether outside circumstances, just consistency can be tough when you're making things. It can be very tough.
Yeah, and you don't want to put out a trash product as well. Part of it is, you don't want to be on there. Even if you think you can get started, you don't want to put out something that's not up to standard, right?
Right.
Like, we don't want to be on here BS, and we don't want to be on here not knowing what we're talking about, things of that sort. So it like you said, it's you learn consistency is always going to be at the forefront of any creation type thing. And sometimes there's just a lot of circumstances that go into everything that's involved with it. So, it's just what you have your ups and downs. There'll be ups, there'll be downs, there'll be times where we're more active, times less active, things of that sort. But at the end of the day, if you just follow through with it, the results are going to come.
They're going to come. They're going to show. Like, look, today I found out someone I had zero expectation of ever listening to the podcast. I found out he did. He said he checked it out, and I'm like, okay, that means I'm reaching some people. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay. That was some good motivation. It was good news to hear. It's like, okay, it's getting out there. I don't know how. I do not know how the algorithm works. I'm still learning, but it's getting out there somehow, and it just kind of makes me want to just keep going and figuring it out along the way. Ups and downs, consistencies and inconsistencies. As long as you're doing it, got to be able to just put something out there and improve on it with time. So that's what we're doing. Look, I remember just a few episodes ago, both of our qualities were shit. Straight up, people were still listening, still watching. So the upgrades come. And we're just gonna keep being consistent with it. Like I said, man, bounce back episode for Hear Me Roar. It's a short one, yet it was a good one. Still got Game 5 coming up in the NBA Finals, and we will be breaking down more of the NBA playoffs in totality, the NBA Finals more in depth, UFC fights coming up, my fight coming up. I'll talk about that later. Do not feel like talking about that right now. The WNBA, MLB. We'll talk about why the Braves are in their slump right now. It's very tiring to watch sometimes, but hey, I know we Did we win
They
tonight?
won tonight. They blew them out tonight. They blew out the
Okay,
Raiders
that's good.
tonight.
All right, so that means we're building some momentum because that's 2 in a row we won. Okay, building some momentum. Talk about MLB. We're starting at when's the trade deadline? In a few weeks, right?
Yeah, it should be coming up like mid-July.
Okay, so yeah, we got the trade deadline coming up. So MLB talk, NFL talk coming up too. Look, we just got a lot. Starting to get back into the swing of all sports being active. So with that being said, you want to leave the audience with anything or?
Not. We're just. I'm glad we're back at it and expect more to be coming soon.
Hell yeah, brother. So look, this has been the Hear Me Roar podcast. My name is the Tony Hope. That is my co-host Noble Lewis. We are Hear Me Roar. Appreciate y'all listening. Appreciate y'all watching. And until the next time, we out.